Hello, everybody. How are we? How are we doing? Hope we all had a nice long weekend and we were keeping safe and sane and all of that sort of business. Well, that was a fun little backlash. Quite enjoyed that. That was going to be the subject of today's video. I was going to make a sort of follow-up, kind of responsey kind of a video, but kind of decided against it in the end because I think actually what I'm going to talk about, which is something that has sort of been quite relevant over this weekend for me. It seems far more important, far more potentially beneficial to anyone watching it, rather than sort of me answering my critics, so to speak. I will very quickly just address some of the comments I received. It's quite bizarre, the level of disdain I received from some people, where it doesn't feel like our opinions are that far apart. There seemed to be an element of misunderstanding as to the purpose of the video. It wasn't a sort of our stream is good or bad video. It was purely a focus on your own recovery, and that will be far more beneficial in the long run kind of a message. And it feels weird that I read a lot of the comments and thought, no, I agree with you, but that's kind of what I was saying myself. I just think there's an expectation now whenever the dreaded S word comes up, that there's just a tirade of abuse and damnation and sort of accusation coming from the person making that statement, and I was not that person because I was talking about a much larger picture. But that was that. And to other critics, at least a couple of you took real offence in the last video to my Dr. Seuss Supreme Cat in the Hat hoodie that I was wearing, and said I was far too old for it, and all the rest of it. So for you especially, I am wearing a zip-up woolen grey cardigan today, so hopefully that will please you. Hopefully that you feel that's much more in keeping with me. And I will use that Dr. Zeus reference as a kickoff today. Now, the reason I actually own that Dr. Zeus hoodie, that Supreme hoodie, is not because I am a wannabe hype beast, and I am aware that I am much older than your average Supreme wearer. The reason I have a particular fondness for that hoodie is because Dr. Zeus was the very, very first book I actually remember looking at, not reading, but actually looking at when I was a very, very young child in sort of preschool, play school, nursery, whatever you want to call it. And I actually still vividly remember the pictures, the illustrations of that book. And every time I went in, I used to pick that book up and look at it because I just liked, I like the colours and the expression and all the rest of it as a very small child. And when I saw that Supreme made that hoodie, I went out and actually treated myself to that, because on that basis, it's also bloody lovely and warm and ideal for this fantastic spring weather we're having here in the UK. Sorry, I will say now if I sound a little bit downbeat in this video. Obviously, loading up YouTube to upload this and sort of to think, see how long ago it was I talked about this topic as well. I became sort of subject to a few more comments because it's kind of like a car crash, isn't it? You know you shouldn't look, but you can't look away, and it's a little bit deflating to sort of see so many people who historically have said how much they agree can relate to what I'm saying and thank me for making the videos and for giving my honest opinion, to then become sort of quite critical or personally critical. Criticism's not an issue, it's the personal criticism that I don't like. When I continue to do just that, but it doesn't completely align with their own opinion, so suddenly I become one of them. I've gone over to the dark side. Well, no, I'm very much still here on the slightly grey, overcast side. But yes, so the Dr. Zeus thing kind of got me thinking, as well as actually a couple of other things that have happened with my family and stuff, and a few medical issues and stuff. Now, hopefully nothing too serious to worry about, but it did make me very, very aware of not only my own aging, in so much as I still remember that book so vividly. And I know it seems like only it doesn't seem like only yesterday, but it certainly doesn't seem like X amount of years ago. But also it's made me realise about the mortality and the humanness and the life cycle, I guess, if we want to avoid using the death word, of those around me and those that I care the most about. And it did make me reconsider. That's not really the word, but maybe revisit something I talked about a while ago, which was the most substantial loss of my gambling career. Which, whilst there were a number of heavy, significant and notable financial losses, as well as actually some other losses in terms of sort of friendships, relationships, missed opportunities, lost business, lost watch collection, as we discussed in a previous video, by far and away the most substantial loss that I ever suffered at the hands of this addiction was that of time. And not so much just because I was spending so much time gambling, but because of things that I potentially could have been doing with that time I could have been spending with people around me doing, it doesn't matter what. This is the thing. I spoke in a previous video about levels of dopamine, levels of adrenaline, and all those other brain chemicals, and how when you're stuck in a cycle of addiction, and that's applicable to gambling, of course, but also to other substances and harmful activities, or potentially harmful activities, alcohol, recreational drugs, pornography, all the rest of them, all those things which, in moderation are fine, but can become a problem. When you're stuck in a cycle of one of those addictions, your tolerance to boredom, is one way of putting it, becomes much, much lower. You require a much heavier, more significant, more frequent hit of brain chemicals, such as dopamine, to maintain your attention, maintain your focus, which is why we often find when we come out of a cycle of addiction that we don't have other hobbies and interests, because we haven't had the focus or the patience or the threshold of boredom to put up with them. I particularly like reading. I'm not really a novel reader, but I like reading autobiographies and stuff, and I mean sort of reasonably prominent people. I'm not saying I'm reading Gandhi, but I'm not reading Kim Kardashian either, so some people in the middle, often businessy kind of people. I tend to like to read those books. And when I was heavily into my addiction, I didn't have the patience or the tolerance or the focus for reading, because I didn't have I wasn't getting the instant, quick and significant payoff that I would have been indulging in a bit of gambling. And that applied to spending time. I hate to say this is a horrible thing to say, but that applied to my family and my friends as well. Whilst we like to surround ourselves with people with similar interests and sort of similar views and stuff as ourselves, you don't get the same payoff sitting down with your mum for a cup of tea and talking about the weather as you would going online and depositing and having a spin on the slots. So you not only have a lack of time, to actually do these things and to make plans to see people that you should make plans to see, but also when there's less motivation to do it, because it's as much as I say, it's horrible to say, but it seems quite mundane, it seems quite boring. And now there's nothing I can think of I'd like to do more than sit down with my dad and watch Match of the Day, or some random repeats of Bullseye and all the stuff that we watch together, but yeah, as much as I'd never obviously stopped loving them, and I did like to see them occasionally, the motivation was not there. Neither was the time, neither was the money, and neither was the focus to arrange to get in my car and go and visit, because it was much easier to just walk up the road to the bookies and have a go on the fob tees instead. Like I say, I'm rambling a bit because I think I'm a little bit misfocused, but I do want to say this, and I'm not. This isn't one of these treasure the people around you kind of messages, but it is when you're clear of gambling for a certain amount of time and your brain starts to normalise, which is a horrible way of putting it, but your tolerance and your craving for extremes of brain activity subside, you do start to identify what's most important in your life, and you do start to identify those around you who are very important and those around you who you may have neglected. And going on from what I said previously, it makes you feel worse to start with. There's so much of this dip when you get into recovery, because it makes you feel worse, because You have to sit back and reflect on lost finances, and sit back and reflect on the money you've lost and the things you could have done. You also have to sit back and reflect on the time you lost, and maybe the people you neglected, and the people that maybe your relationship is damaged, maybe not insurmountably, but maybe you damaged a relationship with people, and it makes you feel shit. You have to sit back and analyse this. But as I said previously, with the finances and with everything, with the boredom and stuff, is once you come out the other side of that dip, you can start to rebuild those relationships, and you can actually start to focus on spending more time with the people around you, and the people that you care about, and the people that you should be spending time with, and that then becomes a real positive in your life, and it really does give you a lot more motivation to continue to maintain these friendships and these relationships. So if you're going through this and you're feeling like you've let people down, and invariably I let a lot of people down, you have to come out the other side before you start feeling better, but you will. And it's great because you can rediscover some of those simple pleasures with the people around you that you'd forgotten. And if that's sitting down and watching a repeated Bullseye on Challenge on a Sunday night, then do that. Go ahead, enjoy it, and maybe even buy yourself a Cat in the Hat hoodie and post a picture of it online, and absorb the comments. Great to thank you for making it to the end of the video. Great to speak to you all. Thanks for all your votes actually on the poll I put up. I am still considering doing daily videos about, it seems to be the common consensus is that people would actually watch them even if they weren't directly related to gambling, which of course will remain priority. Obviously that hasn't happened this weekend. I have actually had plans with aforementioned friends and family, and also, as I'm sure a lot of you will appreciate, even those of you who maybe didn't pull too many punches with your comments, I'm sure you'll appreciate that maybe my heart wasn't quite in coming back and making another video. But I hope I haven't seemed too downbeat. The fact that it's virtually Monday morning, I know it's Tuesday, but it's like a virtual Monday morning. Got a load of work to do, but just want quickly to get this down. Say hello to everyone, let you know my thoughts about lost time, and stay safe, stay sane. Speak to you soon.